most eclectic family that you could ever imagine, surrounded by complete unconditional love. I'm a bloke that fell over a lot without a plan and then eventually got a break. You sometimes get carried away with everything will be all right, and that's a theme that's run through for many years after that. I'll always be all right, which I believe. I've got no fear, because once you've gone through certain things and you've worked it out, it too shall pass. Everything will be all right. Just surround yourself with good people. Resilience is the need on a pursuit of something to take a punch or a kick or a fall and get through it. It's all right. Go again. So long as the pursuit's worth it or the right thing to do, you've got to take a knock. And I have good days and bad days, but I'll always look for the best in every day, and I'll deal with the bad thing knowing that it will pass. So we got a hat trick of disasters that happened to us within a period of 3 years, but it's definitely my why, and it's definitely why I got through the MBO failure, because there's a bigger purpose to life than just business, right? So if I kind of get to where we are now, I love it. I'm loyal to our culture, and you'd find it hard for me to talk badly about anyone in my team. We're on the same page, we're on a journey, we're all at different parts of our journey. We know where we want to go, we know what success looks like, we know what failure looks like. Without getting all cheesy about it, life is snakes and ladders, isn't it? You want to live to your 100, you're going to have ups and downs, you're going to throw a 6, you're going to throw a 1 occasionally, but the game keeps going. Just enjoy the ride, right?
I believe everyone has a story to tell. Through seeking true, authentic insights about the entrepreneurial journey, I provide a platform for our peers to share their stories and inspire those that listen. This is the County Business Talks podcast, produced by H2 Productions. Okay, welcome to the final episode of Series 4 of the podcast. And I could not think of a better guest to round off the series. He's an award-winning entrepreneur, winning numerous awards including Entrepreneur of the Year, Businessman of the Year, and the greatest contribution to the community. Plus the founder of several award-winning talent-driven organisations including lovelocalJobs.com, Love Local Jobs Foundation and ICP Search. I met my guest many years ago when I first come to Brighton with the salon. He did a talk at the Amex at a networking event and spoke about his journey and how in life we often need a helping hand, someone to give us a leg up, believe in us and create opportunities, as someone had done for him. Well, over the past decade, he has without doubt been one of those people for me who's had a profound impact and influence on my life. It gives me great pleasure to welcome the founder of Authentic Resilience and someone I'm lucky enough to call a good friend, the one and only Gary Peters, to the podcast.
Thank you, Sam. That's very nice, wasn't it?
Mate,
did I do any typos there, or did I get it right?
Mate, I'm really pleased you sent that over just before we come in. So, look, mate, it's only taken me 4 series, a 24-hour podcast, and to get you on, and here you are.
Thank you for having me, mate.
Mate, awesome. Buzzing to have it. We'll jump straight in, shall we?
Why not?
Listen, I want to tell the listeners about your story, but start it off with, talk to me a little bit about life growing up. Something about that's shaped who you are, who the person who sits in front of me today.
Have I grown up? What's my boundaries here?
Yeah, mate, you know boundaries and stuff. Go for it.
I think I've got quite philosophical in my mid-older years, right? And I've kind of broken life up into 2 parts now, if you like. So growing up for me would have been age 0 to 46, right? I'm 47 now. So in my head, I'm on the second part of my journey. A bit like a football analogy, right? I've done the first half. But right at the beginning of the first half, I had the most incredible time growing up. So from the ages of 0 to, should we go 18?
Yeah.
Just the best. So I grew up in Dixon Rise, Brighton, 43B. Shared a bedroom with my sister for 20 years. My mum worked incredibly hard for us, as did my dad. He was a mechanic. My mum mostly worked in supermarkets in between looking after us. My sister's 4 years younger than me, and I had the most eclectic family that you could ever imagine, surrounded by complete unconditional love. Good lad at school, not the most academic, it's got to be said, which is why we sound the same, I would imagine. 2 or 3 GCSEs if I'm lucky, and I can't remember them because they're in the bin. But yeah, I had the best life. I could talk to you about growing up in the younger years for as long as you like.
Did you enjoy school then?
I loved being at school. I didn't like the system. Not that I knew what the system was when I was 6, 12 or 15 or whatever. I didn't care for learning. I cared for having fun and all that stuff. And I know exactly where that all comes from, now that I've made the time over the years to look back on who I am and what I'm all about.
Where's that?
Well, I touched on my parents. Let's start with them. They worked incredibly hard. Everyone knew who they were, who they are. My dad always wanted to make people laugh. He was always centre of attention whenever we got a taxi somewhere or walked somewhere. Oh, I know your dad. So he used to be a pretty good footballer in his day, a boxer. Just always had a smile on his face and always did right by people. My mum was probably the louder boss of the family, equally smothering people in love. And between the two of them, they gave me all the confidence I need. And both had very different sets of parents, so my grandparents. My mum's side, particularly my nan, who I adored, she's passed now, but she's a mad Irish lady called Bridget, who used to work in many restaurants and pubs around town and the casino that used to be down the road from Brighton station. She and her husband, my granddad, just made me feel so special. Always told me I was lucky and doing good and stuff like that. So it just gave me the more confidence than I ever needed. Then on my dad's side of grandparents, well, my grandparents on my dad's side, as much love, but much more strict and traditional in their ways, which gave me a good balance of not getting too carried away, being a cheeky chappy, which I certainly was and probably maintain, but a good amount of discipline with love as well, which gave me a good balance. The things that I remember most growing up, Preston Park, always been in the park with mates, and if I didn't know them, I'd walk up to them and just ask to play football. And many family holidays to Benidorm. So when people grow up now, they talk about, you've got to work in a pub or whatever to get to know people. Tried 25 trips to Benidorm with your mum, your dad, your nan, your granddad, your sister, your uncle, whoever, to have the most eclectic, wonderful upbringing that you could ever imagine.
Incredible
I know they
memories,
worked, right? Oh, unbelievable. But my parents worked really hard to give me the life that I had, and I'm forever grateful. It's there that I learned. I remember being around friends and that who had maybe their parents were a bit wealthier and this, that, and the other. And I remember on occasion being, wish I could have that. I wish I could have this. I played for. One of my sports at school was to play hockey. I did all right at hockey, old Mr. Deswani, thank you. I remember turning up to places like Bisham Abbey and these big posh schools and that. And my dad would turn up in our second-hand Cortina, a bright yellow one. That has a particular memory for me. And it was almost, remember when Uncle Buck turns up to pick the girl up and it goes bang? It was like one of those moments as they're turning up in BMWs and Mercedes, but it just didn't matter. Didn't want for anything like that. Just had the most perfect upbringing, for which I'm really, really grateful.
Listening to that, I mean, that's incredible. But the path you've taken, can you pinpoint, or do you remember that entrepreneurial life that you've led then, setting up your own business and doing that? Where does that inspiration come from? Did you always have that a little bit inside you? Was you ever a thought process of I'm gonna run my own business one day from a young age, or where does that come from?
No. So I think there's several types of entrepreneur. There's the ones that maybe they're from stock, whether it be education or people around them that have got a good idea and a good support network and this, that and the other, and they've got an idea, they crack on, and fair play to them. That's a blinding way of doing it. I'm from a different stock, which is one that didn't do well at school academically. Went to college twice and dropped out twice after 6 months, and I picked the easiest course you could do. But I just couldn't see
What
it
did
through
you
to
do?
completion. A GMVQ in leisure and tourism. And the only inspiration at that time to do that wasn't an inspiration. It was when Mr. Brittus used to be on telly, used to run a leisure centre, I think. It was a silly thing to do, and I know why I went there. It was predominantly female-led. There were girls there and fun, and I kind of pursued that more than an education, and that kind of summed up more what I was about at that time. So when it comes to being an entrepreneur, which is a word I can't stand, by the way, but it's the way that we're described.
Yeah.
I think it sounds arrogant and all the rest of it. I'm a bloke that fell over a lot without a plan, and then eventually got a break, which I know we'll touch on later. But I was reflecting on this, and when I was walking here today, I went a nostalgic route. So I walked past my first playgroup, I walked past my first school, I walked past my second school, Downs First, Downs Junior. Then I walked down this way, and there's a place on the left towards the bottom called Freehold Terrace, and my dad did have his own business for a few years, running a garage, and I suppose, and he would tell me now, that there was an entrepreneurial streak in him as well, but I just remember it didn't work out for a variety of reasons, but one mainly being that the landlord at the time kept doubling his rent, so whenever he gained a yard, he'd lost two, and that had a hard impact on everyone, particularly him.
I want to. You mentioned a couple of times, obviously, about the education side of it and not being academic, and obviously we're touch on later on about obviously the foundation and Love Local Jobs and what you do with that. I'm just keen to understand what's your thoughts on the education system as it is now, like in regards to the structure, archaic. Not you go into schools with the foundation, go in to inspire the next generation. What's your take on the system?
There's a Einstein quote: "If you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, you will forever think it's stupid." Which kind of sums up my feelings on it. Not just to protect me, the Wally at school. I think if it works for you, it's fantastic, and if it doesn't, it's not. So I think we're in an age now where maybe we could modernise a lot and move away from the archaic structure that we have. It's not teachers' faults. It's not anyone who works in education wants change, but it's set up wrong, and they're working too hard, i.e. teachers, and the cream will always rise to the top. But there's many young people within that system that I believe is broken that would have a much better chance of realising their full potential if those things around them were improved and better. A lot needs to be done on it, but today's not a day for politics, so because you'll get me going.
That's what we got for the next episode. I'm sure we can say it is interesting because I think we share. Well, we spoke a little bit about offline. I think we share similar values around it, and because again, similar as we've often mentioned, I wasn't the most academic at school, so it was that you do look at it and I always refer to the twins now because obviously there's going to be a comparison. They're the same age, they're twins. So and it blew my mind when they bring me when Luca's 7, going he's a little bit behind. I'm like,
behind what?
Yeah, I'm like, I was like, Kelly, because she's academic, she's like, oh, we've got to do this and we've got. I'm like, oh, we ain't got to do nothing.
Yeah, I've got the same thing.
He'll be alright.
Kate and I, my wife, legends.
Yeah.
We're chalk and cheese, right? So I'm the guy who's hustled out of wherever I've come from and blagged a living. Kate's got every letter after her name and incredibly intelligent. So when it comes to that balance of bringing up kids, it's a great balance for them because they can take a bit of each of us in that regard. But when it comes to homework and stuff, maybe I'm a bit too laid back, and maybe Kate can sometimes be a bit too strict, but the kids work it out. But what's right or wrong?
Yeah,
I don't know.
You're right. It's interesting. Like you said, that's something that I'm sure we'll cover on another episode. But look, tell me, we're obviously the football side of things. You know, Brighton's books. Talk to me about that process, and obviously wanting to be a footballer, not a bad player from what I've been on the pitch with you before.
I've mentioned it a few times, haven't I? The older I get, the better I was. It was weird because I started off a few years later than most of my friends in football. Hollandbury Hawks was the team. Pete Medhurst, Barry Wallace were my managers, absolute legends. My dad used to, and my mum used to take me to these games, you know, through the wind, rain and shine and all the rest of it. I remember being a bit overweight with a funny haircut when I first went. I don't think it was the time when Mum stitched me up with a hairdresser who actually did put a bowl around my head and cut round it. It was a little bit worse because it kind of had a fringe and then went down. No scars.
Need to see that picture.
Another day. But I remember turning up and I was playing goal. You know, chubby bloke goes in goal. That's how it goes. So it went. You know, and these shots are getting fired at me, and I did all right in goal. And then I was taking goal kicks with my left foot and had half a decent ping about it.
Yeah.
And we were unbelievable, this team. I won't go on about this team, but anyone who knows that we won everything.
Yeah.
We had several players in there that went on to Albion's books. But somehow I ended up a left back within this Hollandbury Hawks team, and then got scouted along with several others that did really well. A couple of them made it pro. And I think from the age of 12, 13, I was on Albion's books as a full-back, been teed up to take over the pros there and all the rest of it. I lived the dream for several years, going to school in the tracksuit, being highlighted as the next big thing and all of that. I was good, but I soon rapidly declined after the age of 17. And the truth is I never had my heart in it anyway. I think it was much like everything else in my life at that time. It was just a laugh. Really? I wasn't made to be a footballer.
But in that process, was you obviously being on someone's books from a young age like that? Did you think to yourself, oh, "This is going to be my life. I'm going to be it"?
Yeah, and there's a downside to being surrounded with unconditional love, which is that you sometimes get carried away with everything will be all right, and that's a theme that's run through for many years after that. I'll always be all right, which I believe. Touch wood. But I was going to be a footballer, so what? Not, I'm going to be a footballer. This is insane. Yeah, I'll probably be one. You know, it was that type of thing.
Yeah, okay.
So I was never in it enough. Well, if my dad was here, I know he'd argue, you were this and you were that and whatever. But if your head's not in it, my motivation was probably wearing the tracksuit, the confidence it gave me around town. Those sorts of things, more than the pursuit of excellence in being a professional in a sport. So when I was released, it was a dent to my ego because I had been promised, it had been set up, and it was a surprise. So I was more embarrassed than angry and devastated.
Okay. And then you come out of that then, at that age, 16, 17, and like you said, some people devastated, I'm sure at that age, like you said, a group of several of you, some of you didn't make it, some maybe take down, but you didn't. So what was in your head then, what's your plan for the future? What did you think, what am I going to do?
I didn't have a plan. And this is why life for me is up until 46. I've never had a plan. So I think that's why I get embarrassed with the entrepreneur word, because typically that's associated with success, drive, clarity, goal winning and all the rest of it. I've never had a plan. I've completely blagged everything and done everything the wrong way round. I've set up a foundation before I've made a quid in life, you know. What's that all about? That's just driven by love and passion and wanting to make a difference, which we'll touch on later. But yeah, when I got released from the Albion, I was embarrassed. I remember a year later, a friend of mine, Darren Freeman, he ended up playing for Brighton for a bit. I think he'd just been signed from Newbury. And my dad, he did his best in that, and he bought me my first new car, an orange Mini, Mark 1 Mini, and it was next to a Vauxhall Astra. They're both for sale on this road off of Milo. We're walking towards these two cars, and there's the Mini, 250 or near offer, and then there's the Astra for like 500 or near offer. And I'm walking towards this car with my dad going, "You absolute legend, you've sorted me out of Vauxhall Astra," which at the time, they were the car, right? Oh no. He's got the keys to the Mini. And so I've gone from being this shiny tracksuit, footballing, wannabe, bit of a dickhead, to driving around in a Mark 1 orange, shitty, excuse my French, Mini, And it was quite a come down, but you know, it's the best car I've ever had with the best memories, and I love every second. But it's just a fall from grace. But the reason I mentioned Darren Freeman, he was driving along Old Shoreham Road one day, and I was trying to sell it as soon as I had it for a bit, and he just got a convertible brand new car, and he had two ladies in the back of it, music blaring, and we got to the traffic lights. And he's only a few years older than me. He's obviously nailed it. He just looked over. He went, "Oh, mate, I see your car's for sale." And I don't know if you remember the flip front stereos.
Yeah.
He just popped that out. He went, "I'll swap you that for your car." And then the lights went green and he sped off. And I was like, "Oh yeah, that's good." But you know, it's a fall, but so what? Yeah. It was all right. It was funny, and I'll do that on the chin, and you move on, right?
And as you've alluded to a few times, like saying about tripped over, you get back up again, and that whole your attitude towards life, that everything's going to be all right. Seems there's just a lack of, there's no fear of failure. Is that because does that come from the unconditional love that you always? It doesn't. I think so. It doesn't really matter.
I think it's who you surround yourself with. Like whenever you, if you have the ability to talk to people who can add value to your life when you're going through something, they'd always take you back to your childhood to understand, for you to understand who you are, where you've come from, what you're about, so you can highlight those areas of strength and you can work on those areas of weakness, or maybe areas where you believe you're not as good at something as what you could be. Right? So for me, that unconditional love thing can link to naivety, right? Yeah. A bit like the terrible people who go on Britain's Got Talent. They actually think they're good, don't they? But they're so bad. And you have to pinch yourself sometimes and go, am I one of them? I've got no fear, because once you've gone through certain things and you've worked it out, it too shall pass. Everything will be all right. Just surround yourself with good people. You know, when it's time to worry, worry, but what are you going to do about it? How can you change it? How can you get out of it? And it'll be someone you know, just to give you that bit of support or confidence or some reflection on something you've already been through before. It'll all be all right.
It's so fascinating. I obviously mentioned in the introduction about obviously our relationship over the last 10 years since we've sort of met, and I've mentioned it a few times, and that you're exactly right. I remember this very similar conversation when I just closed the salon. He rang me, "You all right, mate? Let's meet up, have a drink." We met in the Hilton. We sat there and we had this conversation. He goes, "It'll all be all right." And you know what? There's that, and I'm similar to you in the sense that I do always think, well, what can you do? Everything's going to be all right. We're optimists, aren't we? It's always going to be all right. So I do always think like that. But obviously at that low point where you sort of, you do question yourself about certain things. But you're right. You talk to people. You surround yourself with people who give you that little bit of a boost. But just having that conversation to go, actually, this is just a phase, and it'll pass, and something else will happen.
It'll be all right. And surround yourself with good people, right? That's the key. And there is definite naivety to it. And as you get older, you work out those people that are snakes, and you work out those people who are ladders. And just stick close to the ladders, right? Without getting all cheesy about it, life is snakes and ladders, isn't it? You want to live to your 100. You're going to have ups and downs. You're going to throw a 6, you're going to throw a 1 occasionally, but the game keeps going. Just enjoy the ride, right?
And that's got to be the key message, isn't it? That is the key thing about all of it, is just enjoy it. Enjoy the process, whatever it is. Even when you come in on that snake and you're going down, you still try and enjoy that the process in some way, which ain't always easy, is it? No. When you're under pressure and things are not going right. And
now that I am of an age, at 47, I'm still young, I know I am, but equally I'm a lot older than what I was. The trick for me is that I've got through stuff, and on the surface it looks all right. But there's been times Kate and I have been in tears, and things have been really hard. Like everyone else, there's no sob story any better or any worse than anyone else's. In the not too recent past as well. But my second half analogy on life is that with the experiences, the resilience, and the people that I've got around me now, I can now create a plan where I can be in more control. So I've come out of a family with unconditional love. I've blagged a living because of a break that someone gave me once upon a time, for which I'm very grateful. I've done all right. I've made so many mistakes, but you don't go on social media and go, I've made an absolute balls up today, or I'm deep in despair. Well, why not? You should be more authentic. There's a line between authentic and stupid.
Yeah, I'm with it.
But with everything I've learned now about people, life, work, the things I've got right, the things I've got wrong, I'm excited for my next chapter, which is the second half, if you like. But more on that later, eh?
We will get on to that, because we couldn't go through this podcast episode without sharing a story, which maybe there's one or two people out there that haven't heard.
Well,
I'm not sure. I know you don't talk about it much.
Yeah, I think I know the one. So this is the thing I said you mustn't mention because it's a secret.
I've tried to keep it under wraps, mate, but I thought I was privileged to have the conversation and find out about it. I thought I've got to share it with these listeners, so please talk.
Well,
talk
I'm a bit
to me.
rusty now. I haven't told it for about half hour. So the story goes like this. So I'll put some seriousness to it, and then I'll put some fun to it. But I'll skip the hour and a half version because we haven't got all day. So I went to college twice, dropped out twice, as we know. Then I got a job in a pub, the Black Lion Harvester. It used to be. I think it's Miller and Carter now in Patcham.
Yeah.
Big Aussie bloke is my boss, Mark Dillon, legend. We became good mates whilst we were there, and he used to have he was an Australian guy over from Australia, so he used to have pictures of his family on his bedroom wall in the pub, right? So one is of this very pretty brunette lady who was his sister, and her name was Kate. So without wanting to open a can of worms, I suggested that he had a very pretty sister, and I very much look forward to seeing her when she comes over, to which he threatened me with my life, right? So anyway, she comes over, and it's mad. I'm in love, right? I've just besotted with this lady, and he appears not to be too happy about it. Anyway, he goes travelling around Europe. We strike a friendship, and the kind of rest is history. So we're skipping on, otherwise I'll turn into a Mills and Boone story. I quit everything again. So there's a path here, right? Thrown out of football. Didn't do great in my GCSEs. Dropped out of my GMVQ first one after 6 months. And then I dropped out the next one after 6 months as well. I'm not going anywhere too quick. I'm 19 now. I'm 18, 19. My mates are starting to get, cars and decent jobs after graduating and all that stuff. I've just met a guy in a pub and I'm off to emigrate forever. Like, what sort of knob am I? Why? What are you doing? So mum and dad are like, look, what are you doing? You're breaking our heart, but fill your boots. Off you go. So off I go to live in Australia forever. Right.
At 19?
Yeah, 19. I'm in love, ain't I? So I'm following. So I land on the Gold Coast, not a shabby part of the world, and I'm staying with Terry, Kate's dad, and Maureen, Kate's mum, who is an absolute legend. It has to be said. It's a word that's overused, and these people, if I'm mentioning them, they are legends. Anyway, Kate's earning the money. I play for the Gold Coast out there, and another team called the Palm Beach Sharks. And if you are English out there, this is 1995. If you're English, you're a footballer, let alone if you're any good, because they weren't very good back then, right? Yeah. So next thing, I'm half a big deal on the Gold Coast, and I'm walking along the beach because I'm not working in the day. Kate's earning the money, and I'm just pouncing around until I get a visa, if I so wished. And who do I bump into along the beach? Well, I bump into Harry Redknapp and Frank Lampard, don't I? Not Frank Lampard now, his dad. Yeah. Frank Lampard Senior. Anyway, what I didn't mention is that when I got released from Brighton, I went to Bournemouth on trial, and Harry Redknapp was the guy there. But Tony Pulis took over, and the first thing that Pulis did was ding me out. So I bump into Harry Redknapp, and he tells, I literally walked past him on the beach. He didn't recognise me, fair play. I recognised him. And I was due to go and pick Kate up, and he sat down anyway. I thought, I can't miss this opportunity. I need to go and say hello at least. So I walked up to him, have a seat, Gary. He pretended he knew me and he didn't, and blah, 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 it's lovely. Anyway, next thing you know, he tells me how they were touring Australia at the time and they were a player down. And he said, would you mind coming to play for me for West Ham against the Olyroos next week. I was like, what are you talking about? Play for you? And, well, for the first team, with like Julian Dix, Les Seeley, Tony Cottee and all that lot. So I'm in, aren't I? But of course there were league restrictions at the time because I was signed up for a club. So I run away, I run home, I'll go and get Kate, I take her, I'm going to play for West Ham. Who? Oh my God. They're big. They're massive, in fact. So anyway, that's something else. I go get clearance, and then the next thing you know, I'm on a coach to Brisbane to play at the Suncorp Stadium with West Ham and Harry Redknapp, and I did. And I got 7 whole minutes. Wow. So my claim to fame is that I played for West Ham, which I did, but I forget to mention the 7 minutes and that he didn't invite me back after.
7 minutes more than many, mate.
7 minutes more than many.
Mate, I love it. So, honestly, first time you told me, I'm like, that is absolute gold. And like, again, like, we talk about people's life journeys and experiences and opportunities and just going, like, grabbing everything that you can without, just an epic, and what a story to be able to tell.
Well, that's the sober version. But what it did lead to was, or what followed, should I say, was I got homesick really quickly in Australia.
Right.
Like really bad. So I came home. So as far as Kate and I were concerned, we were done. We were finished.
How long had you been out there?
I think I lasted 6 months.
The 6 months.
But Kate, you know, what a rock. She's on the plane over, and she lives here now. And fair play to her, because that's no easy task, moving country, leaving your family and whatever. I certainly couldn't do it. So who's the bigger person in our relationship? As my body closes up, taking a full one on the chin. That that weren't the proudest man moment of my life. But anyway, I come home, but then it all changed.
Brilliant. Well, tell us about that then. That so you've come back now, and Kate's come over. You're gonna live a life together over here, and still no plan, job-wise.
Definitely no plan.
So what's next to talk to? So yeah, talk to me about that, because obviously you mentioned, and I mentioned again in my intro, that talk you did at the Amex, and you talk about people giving you a leg up and meeting someone who believes in you, gives you an opportunity. In your mid-20s, you obviously start your own business, but talk to us about from that part to get into that.
So it's getting serious now, isn't it? So you can have all the love and fun in the world growing up and all the rest of it, but at some point you've got to grow up. So at 19, 20, I'm over here, my friends have done, even my mates who didn't go down the academic path, the plumbers, the sparkies and that were earning a lot of money. So I think the first, I can't remember the order, but I think the order was that I got a job in Lloyd's TSB, which, as far as people say, get a job in a bar, get a job in a call centre as well when you're young. You get some abuse there, and you learn how to handle people. Anyway, I got fired after. I got moved around quite a lot because I had to drop big words in just for a laugh, and they all got recorded, didn't they? So I was just continuing being a bit of a nose, really, and not taking life too seriously. Then my dad got me a job where he was a mechanic selling commercial vehicles, and I did that for about the wonderful 6-month period. But then it all changed. So I think the clear bit here is I'm still having a laugh at that, but I'm working out that I've got to grow up. I don't want to paint it that I was a complete nose to society. I wasn't. I was just one of those people that was never going to fulfil the potential. So you can have all the love in the world around you. You got to do something with it, and that network wasn't present in my life to know what to do next. But I was braver than anyone else. I'd run through walls more than anyone else. I'd make anyone laugh more than anyone else. I'd do more for you than anyone else. But what about me, right? So very, very fortunately, and this is where luck is huge, and it feeds into most things that we do. This guy called Rod Flavel had just a few years before started a recruitment company that didn't just recruit people in the tech world, it also trained them up to put them into jobs, right? And he had a really good idea. A pretty small company at the time, but he heard about me. But he was also chairman of Saltdean United Football Club. And it's in the cheeky chap, and he was far from stupid. He was like, hey, you come in and do a job for me, just calling round and getting me meetings type of thing. And I'll give you a job in recruitment. What's recruitment? I haven't got a clue what that. Don't you worry about that. Just come and play football for Saltdean United, and I'll give you a job. And the rest is history. So he opened the door to me. I didn't do particularly well there. I think I struggled to spell IT, to be honest, which is it's not the hardest word to spell. Not that it's a word, but you know what I mean. But he taught me more there than I'd learned ever before in a business world. But this became a theme for me as well. It was only a year or two later that I realised what I had and what I'd learned. I'd always learn post-event. Right, yeah. But he gave me a break anyway. And I'm forever grateful for that, because it teed me up to do my own things and start to put things in an order to get in control.
And was it from there then you go and start your own?
Well, I did it there. So if the easiest way to package it up is I used to work for him covering UK accounts. Yeah. And then I got moved into the European team to cover more European stuff. But as more chemistry, really. The guy who ran the UK could see that I was a bit of an idiot. He was a straight batter, very successful guy. I ended up with a guy with a bit more flexibility to manage me, I think. Yeah. And then we ended up going to Brussels to open some offices up in Brussels. So I was doing a weekly commute there. But Kate had just moved over from Australia, so she wasn't seeing me Monday to Thursday because I was in Belgium, and that just wasn't working. So I handed my notice in and thanked him with the most soppy resignation letter that he said, don't ever write one like that ever again, and sent me on my way. But he now, their company's worth multi-millions, and he's incredibly successful, as are all the team there. I'm incredibly proud of my tiny part that I played in their little or huge success story.
Wow. And then, but then you take that from that and you believe you learn enough. We're still what are you still 22?
I'm 21, 22 now.
And you've gone from that and you go, well, I'm just going to go and start my own thing.
I went from there. I joined a friend who used to work for FDM as they are known now. He joined another company. I went there for a few years, did really, really well. Good company. Didn't really fit in with the way that it was being managed. And then for loads of different reasons, right and wrong, 4 of us quit and then set up ICP Search in 2001. Completely naive, completely stupid, but very, very, very confident in our abilities. But the thing that we got wrong was our timing. Not only did we not know what we were doing at the time, we also didn't predict the 9/11 disaster that happened just after we set up, and we got hit really hard. Wow. So it was my first moment of braveness and getting into the big world of business, and then a wallop straight away.
A couple of things there. One, like people listening, and you know, people want to start their own business. They're thinking about it, and they go down that path. It's actually quite a quality, do you not think, to be a little bit naive when you're starting?
It's the greatest gift, right? Yeah. So the greatest gift I have when it comes to the entrepreneur word is the naivety to risk that I took. Yeah. Without a doubt, the naivety to every risk I was taking was my gift. So by not knowing what I was getting myself into and having this unconditional love and confidence about me, whilst risky, actually, with the personality and the people I had around me, was the greatest gift by a million miles. Because I would never have done it. Would I have done half the things I have done now, 20 years later? Definitely not. But I had to do it. There was no book that I was going to read that would tell me not to do it, and there was no one who was going to tell me not to do something that was going to stop me.
Love that. I love, because there is that, isn't there? There's that thought, if you, whatever it is, whether it's starting a family, starting a business, whatever it is, you go, I'm going to wait for that perfect time. I'll make that plan and I'll do that, and I'll make sure that
people do that. But
yeah, I'm the same as you. Like, use the football analogy, not always the right way, but 2 feet in. Yeah, that's right. I'm in. Bang, let's go. And then you throw yourself into it, and then you do learn later. maybe that weren't the right thing. We learn from that.
Well, I think a lot's been. The word resilience gets used and bandied around a lot at the moment. I think we all need resilience. I also think we're a bit, we're programmed, younger people are programmed differently to maybe how we were programmed. We were pretty much, get up and we'll work it out. I think somewhere in the middle of the way we were brought up, just to get up and get on with it. I think it's a bit too the other way now, somewhere in the middle's right. But for me, that having a plan is something that I've definitely underestimated through the years, where resilience is great, but a plan is better. And then you may not need so much resilience.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I think, like you said, that word, more so for me since lockdown. Like, you come out of the pandemic and you look like that word got bandied around a lot, but we had to have it. Right? It was any business owner who ever plans for something like that to come in and smash things up and go, there you go, you got that's not going to happen. And no one had that in their 5-year plan. Whoever you were, it don't matter. You haven't got that in the locker. So we had to pivot, be resilient. Those words come out of it so much, but it's such a big thing for any, especially within business. You've got to have it because you're going to take the knocks, aren't you?
If I don't get punched in the face 3 times a day, then I'm having a blinder. We will get punched in the face every single day, and that's cool. You got to back them off. It hurts, so what? Get on with it. What are you doing about it? Can't cry about it. Mental health is different. Mental health is, some people need more support than others. And we have highs, we have lows. Sometimes we're above the line, sometimes we're below the line. That's cool. Again, surround yourself with good people and get whatever help you can. Resilience is different. It's not to be confused with mental health. Resilience is the need on a pursuit of something to take a punch or a kick or a fall and get through it. It's all right. Go again. So long as the pursuit's worth it or the right thing to do, you've got to take a knock. And after a while, they don't hurt. But if you take too many in a row, they really hurt. But still, you've got to get through it.
There's that. I still love I love a movie quote, and I love the Rocky one where he says it's not about how hard you hit, it's about how hard you get it, and you keep going forward, and that's how winning is done or whatever. But it's so true, and you can relate that to business so much. But talk to me about, like, with then, because you obviously, as you mentioned, even just up until now, where you're starting at ICP Search and launching that resilience and stuff you've shown. But over the years, then with the mental health side of things, how has your mindset been around that? Have you been able to, obviously, ups and downs and lows and stuff? What's your take on that in your sense? Like,
what do you mean?
Have you been able to deal with that? Have you suffered from poor mental health, or
have I suffered from poor mental health? I don't think so. I think I stand by it's a thing, and it's something that maybe we didn't know enough about when we were even younger than what we are. Right? I also firmly believe it's something to be careful of, because life is about getting through stuff and survival. I want to be surrounded by happiness and love and winning, but that can't be my pursuit every day, because if that's my pursuit every day, I'm not going to handle the knocks that I get along the way, because you're going to get those. Things are going to happen. People are going to pass. Deals aren't going to happen. Someone's going to say no. Something you expected to happen won't. So if you fall down at those moments and then fall into mental health issues, then that's dangerous. Right? So you have to pick your path accordingly, dependent on you as an individual person. I was fortunate enough, as part of my DNA, to be in the job that I do now, that if I fell off my bike, I'm back on it. If I got a dead arm, it didn't hurt, shut up moaning, or whatever. So my mental health over the years has been up and down. Of course it has. But until I knew about it, I didn't know about it. But now that I know about it, I have good days and bad days. But I'll always look for the best in every day, and I'll deal with the bad thing, knowing that it will pass. But I'm lucky like that. Not everyone's lucky like that.
Mindset. No, I'll get you. Okay, I just wanted to say something about one of our sponsors, Preston Insurance Brokers. Insurance is all about peace of mind, making sure that you're protected no matter what. There's no such thing as one size fits all, which is why Preston Insurance Brokers take the time to understand your business, how it works, and how all the pieces fit together. Because they understand your needs and whatever risks your business faces, they can offer you bespoke insurance cover to help your business grow with confidence. Always safe in the knowledge that should the worst ever happen, they'll be here to help you weather the storm. Protecting businesses for over a decade, Preston Insurance Brokers will ensure that you're always in safe hands. Noel and the team have been looking after all my business insurance for many years and offer a truly fantastic personal service. To find out more, contact the team at www.prestoninsurancebrokers.co.uk. Your business, your insurance. Okay, back to the podcast. Well, look, I want to move on because I want to talk about that. It's something that I'll touch on in most episodes and something we've spoke about many times, and about culture within a company, right? And I want to look at it's the bloodline of a business, really. And I look at the process and people I've known have worked with you, worked for you, and that over 20 odd years of running ICP Search, and obviously Love Local Jobs and the foundation and stuff. Talk to me about culture and the culture that you've created within those organisations.
Yeah, so what I don't want to do now is sound like someone who's got it right.
Because from the outside, and from someone who definitely got it wrong, and we spoke about it, like I just said, I definitely got it wrong. From the outside, I looked upon you as getting it.
Yeah, well, that's marketing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So as a 26-year-old, when I started ICP, our culture was hire anyone that you like and can have fun with and go smash it up. Is that a culture or is that a cult? It's a cult, isn't it? It's not a culture.
Yeah.
So there was no depth to us. And we did well. And whilst we were winning, we were great. But then when we were losing and we took a kick or a loss, how did we deal with that together? Not well. You worked out quickly, had a bunch of individuals that had nothing in common, apart from they knew each other. Then I kind of went on like that. So ICP for the first 10 years was a reasonable force in recruitment. But no real plan again. No real plan. Just mostly good people. So that I don't really count that part of ICP. I've got incredible memories of it, like so many good people that were there. Yeah. But as a leader and as a company owner, I can take no credit apart from being myself for the culture it created. And I know that it created good and bad on that. Not disastrous, but not great. When you hear people talk about culture now, those who get it right, get it right. So if I kind of get to where we are now, I love it. I love our culture. I'm proud of our culture. I'm loyal to our culture. And you'd find it hard for me to talk badly about anyone in my team or those that surround me. But when I didn't have a grip in my business, or maybe when I wasn't on the ball enough, it was bang average. But of course, on marketing terms, it was great. Yeah. Come work for us, the best team. Well, it's cut paste of someone else's, isn't it? All saying the same stuff. Why is it a good culture now? We're on the same page. We're on a journey. We're all at different parts of our journey, but we share experiences to help each of us get to the next part of our journey. We know where we want to go. We know what success looks like. We know what failure looks like. We're committed to the cause. We're humble. We can make mistakes. It's okay. It's cool. Humility. Put your hand up. Made a mistake. It's cool. What have you learned from it? How do we get around it? So it's that whole sense of togetherness that makes a team, which is ultimately what we are. Some people say family, that they like family. Some people like team, whatever. Yeah. We're a unit that's very, very close. We're on the same page. But there's a danger there, particularly in a commercial environment, because we have targets to hit. So it's very difficult to have a strong culture within an environment where you've got to hit a certain number every day, week, month. Because if you're not hitting that number, if I'm a ruthless manager or leader, you're gone. But I'm not. So I have to work out from my seat, what's our pursuit here? Is it to look after everyone so they achieve their goals, or is it my individual goal to hit X of whatever million and whatever? So where I'm a different leader to many, but the same as most, I feel, is that my objective isn't money or watches or boats and crap like that. I'm not interested, and good luck to anyone whose pursuit that is. If that's genuinely their goal, then crack on. Mine is one of a journey of enjoying every moment, giving back, and a team of togetherness around me, so I can sleep every night, achieve my goals, and win together. And that's what we've got. And if people don't work out along the way, they go with their pride and dignity and all the rest of it, because it's just a destination too far for them, or that's not right. But we've got that right now, and I'm really, really proud of it. But I wouldn't sit here and go, well, we've had it right for 26 years, because we definitely have not.
And you as a leader then, and creating that culture, or helping to create that culture where it is right now, have you felt that, like, as a leader, you're a different leader now to what you was?
Oh, 1,000,000%. Like if you spoke to the team as far back as far back stroke as recent as 5 years, I would have been very different. So to give you some kind of timeline on that, 26 I started ICP, 35 I set Love Local up. So I set that up to get away from recruitment. I was starting to hate recruitment at around 35. You don't typically get much love in recruitment. You kind of get, where's my CVs? Piss off, or you're too expensive. That's kind of the feedback you get in recruitment. And when you're a people giver, or someone who wants to help others, you don't want to be hearing that 20 times a day as a recruiter. So I embarked upon setting up Brighton Hove Jobs, which then became lovelocaljobs.com as it is today, and whatever. And the whole heartbeat of whilst that started off as a job board was we wanted to help young people in our community get the break that they deserve in order to go reach their full potential. And that obviously is linked to Rod and the break he gave me. So whilst I had everything about me, I was never going to realise my full potential unless someone gave me a break. So that's why that's set up. But if you speak to people at different phases through that growth with me, you'll see different things. So once I got so engrossed into lovelocaljobs.com, I took my eye off ICP. So the guys running it there took it in a different direction to maybe what I would have taken it. But I was still the far majority shareholder, but I didn't have any DNA or grip on my own business. So I proposed an MBO. So if you ask the people who worked at ICP then what I was like, they go, Gary Peters? That was it? Yeah, so he didn't really know, so I was too far removed. So then the MBO failed, which is disastrous. So if you want to talk about resilience, we'll talk about that in a minute, because that's the hardest thing ever. Then COVID. Then an investor pinching more of our staff that it was impossible for them to say no, so they left. So we got a hat trick of disasters that happened to us within a period of 3 years that I'd say only in the last 2 years we've come out of. Don't put that on your marketing board though, dear. Having an absolute disaster here. So the culture post MBO is cling hold of everyone, buy everyone everything they need, and just see where you are, because I didn't know what way was up. So I had to go back and run ICP. And then we move on to where we are now, having not gone bust, kept keeping it going, creating a team environment, re-establishing who we are and doing everything right. Our culture's fantastic.
So I do want to touch on the MBO and that process, pandemic and stuff like that. I just want to, one thing I want to take out is look at the start of the Love Local Jobs journey, or Brighton and Hove Jobs it was then, come to Love Local Jobs. But do you feel one of the main reasons for starting that, because it aligned with more of you as an individual and your purpose and what you like? That what's the Japanese thing, ikigai, where we go like that Love Local Jobs ticked more of those boxes than ICP did.
So I think to keep it like medium light on topic, but help people out who may go through this at some point, that I was given a break into recruitment. So I didn't choose it. I don't think many people do choose recruitment, by the way. I was very good at it, but it wasn't fulfilling my purpose. So at that time I was trustee of Albion in the community as well, an incredibly successful charity, the charitable arm of obviously Brighton Hove Albion Football Club. And one of the things I did there was to go to Burkina Faso, for example, which was then, I believe, the third poorest country in the world. And we went there with a team from Adidas and a few other football clubs like QPR and others I can't remember. Everton were there. Anyway, the idea of our trip was to go there and deliver AIDS awareness to young people in Burkina Faso, because the witch doctors in the area were convincing them that Americans, which we all are because we're white, were putting AIDS in condoms to kill them. So they weren't wearing condoms to in their activities, which was of course spreading disease. So anyway, we turned up with a bag of footballs in the middle of a field with Adidas and a few football clubs and all the rest of it, and then before you know it, dozens and then hundreds of young people are turning up with the biggest smiles on their faces. They've got AIDS, they've got malaria, they've got no money, they have nothing. But through the power of football, we had a connection like I've never seen, and the smiles on those faces through everything we did, through playing football to the education of, hey, that doesn't actually happen. You should wear these things, and this is how you put one on, and all the rest of it. Not literally, I have to say, with various vegetables. I just got to see firsthand how you don't need anything to be happy apart from love, right? And I know that sounds cheesy, so I don't want to go all hippie on you here. But at that moment then, it was like, okay, there's something different here. So after getting growing recruitment and all various stages of success and failure and wallies and heroes and all the rest of it, it was like, that's what it's all about. So it was like a moment. So yeah, it is that purpose, and it absolutely fed into, with a whole load of other stories, why Love Local was set up, because it does feel better to give. The thing I hadn't worked out at the time is you need something to give. So all I've ever given really is time and energy and spirit and all the rest of it. But always behind the scenes, I've been working really hard to keep those things going. But it's definitely my why, and it's definitely why I got through the MBO failure, because there's a bigger purpose to life than just business, right?
I love that. And it's, look, again, I guess me and you have spoke offline a lot and about that, and that is that drive. And I do want to come on to this later about the success side of it, because before we touch on the MBO, but it is that drive and that ambition, that energy that we both share, and a lot of business owners will have that. And you go, and what is it we're striving for? Why? And the delay in happiness, because that's where it's gonna be when I get to that destination, that point. Taking that out of your mind and having, because I've just finished a book, Think Like a Monk, and it blew my mind. And I'm not that I'm going to go and start wearing orange robes and join the ashram. Do you know what I mean? But what we can learn from wisdom and stuff like that in the past, and actually that, like you said, back to the whole thing of why we're here, to love and be loved, right?
It sounds cheesy, and I don't know. There's huge amounts in it, and you've got to think all these books and libraries of advice and wisdom like that. It comes from people going through stuff, right? So why don't we listen to it? And like you say, you don't have to follow it in its full pursuit. I'm quite into stoicism in a way, and there's loads of other things. It doesn't mean you're going to join a cult or do this, that, and the other, but it's just ways of dealing with stuff that typically resonates with where you're at in your life, right? What is it? It's Maslow's hierarchy of needs, isn't it? That talks about those things that you essentially need, and without going off piece too much, I'm just driven mad and sad. Particularly, it used to be young people, but it's older people now as well who just are living their life behind a camera with a fake smile. It's tragic, because they're not happy. They're just trying to look happy to be happy, and what a load of rubbish that is. And I'd worked that out a long time ago. But that can often be perceived as a sign of weakness as well in leadership. Of course, you've got to really understand the battles you get yourself into, and pick your battles carefully, because whilst one set of employees or your team are going to buy into it, many won't. And when we had the failed MBO, many did not buy into the way that I did stuff. Maybe some because I didn't have a grip on my own business, which I most certainly didn't. So having run Love Local for 10 years, my foot wasn't on the gas with ICP, and I certainly wasn't up to date with our client base and what we were doing. So anyone who may have found that hard, who worked there at that time, would have been within their rights if they were the reasons. But there were one or two that just didn't buy into the team thing and all the rest of it, and then you know you've got a problem with your culture. And it's not that they're wrong or I'm right.
It's just different.
And that's where we didn't have alignment or clarity on what our behaviours were, our values, and what we're all about. And we certainly didn't have transparency about where we were going, because we were in survival mode. And that, of course, if you're in a team that doesn't know where it's going, can cause anxiety and stress and all the rest of it. So it's a really dark time post MBO. So you're angry. Well, maybe I should start with, why did it happen? It happened because I wanted to pursue Love Local jobs, which...
so you had that conversation with them, go this
way. I put it to them, because they were running it, and we had different agendas to what success was. My ideas were different. Theirs weren't wrong or right, and neither were mine. We were differing. So I wanted to go that way, they wanted to go that way. So without getting too much into the politics of it, we couldn't agree a price, and that was that. It fell apart. So it was one of those areas, and it was the final one for me where, how old was I then? It was about 7 years ago, I think. I've lost track of time on it now. I'm too old. But it was
back the pandemic through we lost a couple of years, didn't we? So we didn't know what was going on.
So we go through a timeline. School up until 18, 19, just funny hilarity life, right? Unconditional love and all the rest of it. Naivety at its best, wonderful time. Then 20 to 35, working in business, setting up my own businesses, still loving life with unconditional love and naivety and all the rest of it, right? Just getting through it, the Gary way, right? And then proposing an MBO and it failing. Oh, okay, here we go. So all of that link the linkage to what I mentioned before, nan and granddad, mum, dad, and all the rest of it would go, you're so lucky. Even my wonderful sister, another part of my life that's huge, and another one who's a lot smarter academically than me. You're so lucky. La 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 la. Shit, I'm not now. I've just failed an MBO. Everything could go very, very wrong here. So everything was great. Failed MBO. Suddenly we were losing tens of thousands of pounds every month. I had a team of people that I had to look after. We were looking at bankruptcy. We were looking at selling the house if we were lucky. Everything could have gone. And that dragged on for about 18 months. And I'd like to think the guys that left wouldn't laugh at this point, but maybe they will, maybe they won't. I'll never know. And nor do I care. I would like it if we were to meet one day and go, hey, we didn't deal with it the best way, would be a fair way of putting it. They've gone on to be incredibly successful. We've taken our time on that journey, very much so, but 1,000,000% stronger for it, and more experienced, and a better man for going through it. So I'm thankful that we've gone through it. So I'm often asked, would you change anything in your life? And people expect me to say, yeah, I'd change that. I'll do it again and again, because it's made me stronger, hungrier, more experienced, a better man, a better dad, a better leader, and all the rest of it. Because everything was going too well before then.
Because leading up to that process, let's look at like you say, the marketing, the social media, the message out there.
Yeah.
One entrepreneur of the year, you was businessman of the year, like local jobs and everything, winning awards and stuff. Was at that point, like you say, maybe you took your eye off it, whatever that was, that process. If you look at where you were then, did you feel at that point when you've won them things like, oh, I've achieved that level of success? Was there ever that process in your head?
Not really, because growing up I have always put myself near centre of attention, or if not in the centre. Yeah. So winning those awards I was incredibly proud of, and we had worked incredibly hard to get that recognition. So I didn't think I'd made it, because we were on a journey, and we certainly weren't making huge amounts of money, but we were successful. We're making enough, we're turning over, having good times, and life's good. We're on a journey. I was more proud of the awards we won after the failed MBO, like best international recruitment company for ICP Search within any sector. That's a huge achievement. And we won a few thereafter. They felt and tasted a lot better having gone through something. So if anything, I felt more of a fraud at the beginning. So whilst we deserved them, they weren't hard. We just sponsored Brighton Hove Albion a few years before. We were on 25,000 shirts around Sussex and around the world. There were shirts popping up. I even saw one in Australia one day when I was out there. So I had it easy, and I'm mindful of that. But I'm so glad. Kate would differ. You know, she's a risk-averse person, and she's had to carry some strain over the past post that MBO, as we all have. But I carry it in a different way because I'm more of a hustler. You know, I'm going to fight my way out of it. But I've got to protect my wife and my family at the same time, and that's hard. But I'm glad I went through it, and I'll do it again and again. I'll be a bit more careful not to next time.
If I ask Kate the same question, would she say the same?
No. But that's DNA, isn't it? But I wouldn't have done it without her, and she wouldn't have got through it without me. And equally, she wouldn't be in that mess in the first place if it wasn't for me. So, again, that kind of goes back to education and the plan, doesn't it? Because we are where we are, but we're a team.
I love that. And if anything, people learn from listening to that conversation, because you say about it got quite dark for you at that time. How dark did you get down to that point where you just like, was there a point where you thought I've just got to pack this up and call it a day? Was there, or did that ever go into your head, or was it, as you've mentioned many times, that you go, this is a problem, I've got to solve this solution and this is going to pass?
During that time I got introduced to a lady called Helen Guinness. Actually, I got introduced to her when we did the sponsorship of Brighton Hove Albion, because I was getting called into various networking events and conferences and whatever to do a talk, and suddenly I was expected to know everything about, you know, employment and this, that and the other, and I certainly didn't. So, you know, I could have been, she was recommended to me to teach me how to present, because I had absolute fear of that. So as a people pleaser, non-educated blagger, what self-credibility did I have in myself to go and present to people? Well, zero, because I can't blag it in front of 200 people on a stage, can I? I've got to talk facts. So what's the first thing she does? I don't know what her hourly rate was, and I know she was doing me a favour, but it was more than I thought it was going to be. And then she wants to talk to me about growing up and stuff like that. I'm going, no, just teach me about how to present and all that. Gary, tell me about your mum, your dad, this, that and the other. Anyway, several weeks later, and God knows how much money, but worth every penny. And I would have paid 10 times it now on reflection. She did about an hour on presenting, about 20 hours on discovering me. But it's the best thing that I had done, because it better prepared me for life in general. It's a very long way of giving recognition to Helen, who I'm eternally grateful for. And that period in my life, because that training, along with the DNA in my life and those people around me at the time, when it did get to a failed MBO, of course I thought about shutting everything down. Of course I did, because I had to work out, what am I in control of, what can I influence, and what can I let go of. So where I wasn't in control, I had to influence it. If I couldn't influence it, I had to let go. So for the foundation's perspective, albeit it was pre-foundation, it was doing a foundation's job. Can I influence it to stay around? Yeah. Do I want to let it go? No, I don't. Would it have been easier to go bankrupt? Hell yeah. Walk away like they all do, those shady people. Just, you know, own thousands, millions, whatever, and then they cut you off and they start again. That winds me up. Yeah. Some people have no choice. I'll give them that. Yeah. And I would very quickly separate them from the many that are not authentic in their decisions. So we went through it. Did we think about shutting the job board down? Absolutely. Did we do it? No. Could I have gone bankrupt? Would it have been easier? Yes. We got through it. ICP, should we shut it down? No. We're going to rebuild it. We're going to make it better and stronger and all the rest of it. So there were choices. I definitely went there. Again and again and again. But we maintained control. But I remember we had a chap who worked for us, a ledge. I'm still good friends with him, and he stayed at our house for 6 months because it was around COVID this particular time, post the MBO fail. He was having a tough time. He's staying with us, and we were still going through cash flow problems, as you might imagine, during a COVID period, and having just survived a failed MBO and losing another layer of management from an investor that decided to copy our business plan and set up, right? So I was starting to wonder, actually, if I'd done anything wrong in a former life, and just how stupid am I really to get myself in this mess. Anyway, the chap who stayed with us, I won't say his name because he'd probably be embarrassed, but he did a deal this particular day that it was on our dining room table, and we needed that payment to come in, and we were gone. And it come in, and me, him and Kate just burst into tears because it was the deal that kept us going amongst several around that time. But that's how tight it was. So yeah, you've got your marketing going on, we're this, we're that, we're the other. But behind the scenes, like if you're going to be an entrepreneur or business owner, you've got to take some punches in the face and work really hard. But always wonder and know where you're going and have a plan, which is why I'm excited for the second half of my life.
But you listen, man of people I've had on here, and you talk about the knocks and the ups and downs, and you talk about getting punched in the face. Like, listen to because the MBO was that 2019, was that around that period, around that time?
23. I'm going to go 6 or 7 years ago. 7. So
you got that, then you get then the pandemic, like I said.
Well, the actual order, to give some detail to it, was the MBO failed. So suddenly I've got to go and look after a team of about 30. That was costing about 150 grand a month to run, and we weren't capable of bringing in 60 to 80 at that time, I think. So that's a lot of hemorrhaging of money.
And how long did that period last for?
It lasted longer than ideal. It lasted longer than I expected, because I got a grip of it quite quick, actually. But then it started to fall apart because the culture wasn't right, and nor was the direction. I didn't actually have a grip. Yeah. I'd formed fake bonds with people, not because I was being fake, but obviously several of them were being through that process because they just wanted to cling on to a job while they found something else to get out of this disaster of a crazy place. Yeah. However, several people stayed who are in my team now, and my loyalty's there for a very long time, i.e. forever. Yeah. But it lasted a long time. But that's because we didn't know what to do. Who knows what to do there? There's no book on that one.
So I mean, like you talk about it must have been like Tyson Fury's giving you a colour wax on a chin after
it. I can't. The feeling. What's the word? Discombobulate, is it? The confusion and the stress, the anxiety and everything through that period was incredible. But again, I'm thankful for it.
Because as you allude to it, you're stronger, mate.
Stronger, more experienced, and a wake-up call to take life a bit more seriously and have a plan. Otherwise, it can all be gone like that.
Mate, incredible story. And it's brilliant. Like you said, when you're in it, how many people maybe even listen to this? And I know I've been nowhere near that level, but certainly to points where you do question, it could all go, this is not going right. I'm robbing Peter to pay Paul, and as business owners we do that, don't we? We juggle when you're trying to get that, but just to listen to that process and what's happened and how that's hard, but to still knuckle down and know that you can come out the other side if you surround yourself with good people, if you believe in yourself, and
I've thrown there, do the right thing.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have been the right thing to go bust.
Yeah.
So pride in that, 20%, doing the right thing, 80.
Is there a little bit inside you as well, where you go for the people that left for the MBO, went and left unit, that you go, I'll prove it to them. I've just got this, and I'll keep coming back.
Used to. I've got nothing to prove there. They've done all right. They would do. We had 10 years of business that they've now got that I didn't have because I took my foot off the gas. So I don't agree with the way it was handled at the time, but I don't begrudge their reasoning for doing it, and I don't begrudge my reasoning for not accepting what I felt was right at that time. So I wish them all the best, but I'll stick by it. Could have been done better. I was disappointed. Not angry. I understand why. There's always two sides to every story, right?
But I bet you there's many people that perhaps wouldn't be able to go there in their minds. But fair play to you for doing it. And I think there's one thing, listening to you about the process with Helen as well and stuff like that, just leading up to that, there was something I'm keen to just touch on, the whole imposter syndrome thing you mentioned about getting up in front of people and that side of it, and 200 people, what do I know? Like, I've blagged it all. I feel like that a fair bit, and I'm keen to have you with that sort of things now, because you have, like, again, I would look at you from the outside, and because I've got to know you as well, and someone I look up to as a business owner, and again back to culture and all the things that you've done and achieved, and I would love to achieve that, and that, you know, that sort of element. But you go, where are you now in relation to imposter syndrome and that type? Do you still suffer from that to a degree, or are you much more, because of everything you've been through, do you feel, I can be an expert in these fields because of what I've
how do I feel about that? I didn't know what imposter syndrome was until a few years ago. Just say that out there. Right?
Who did?
So it's another thing that is on the list to decide whether I am or am not. But, I went through life, and probably still continue to a point, with a mask of happiness and positivity. So I'm a happy and positive person. I love that. So when I go somewhere, I'm expected to be that person. So when I'm in a room where I should know what I'm talking about, I should be that person and know what I'm on about. When I was a lot younger, I would not have that confidence, and I'd rely on my mask to get out of a situation or into a good situation or whatever. Blaggy, Del Boy-esque, if you like. As I've got older, with confidence, I can talk about stuff that I'm comfortable with, which is most things. And now that I don't have anything to prove to anyone, if I don't know, I don't know. It's all right. And I'd say that in any matter, on anything. So even if I'm an expert on it, I don't know. It's fine. So I'm cool with it. But would I get on stage and talk about something I don't know and pretend to? No. But if you want to talk about something I know about, let's go. It's all good. You still get sweaty palms. I've got a plan here. There's all my notes. I haven't looked at them yet. There's a little reminder in there. But you plan, don't you? You plan for the worst, hope for the best, and it'll all be all right.
Love it. Look, I want to. We're coming towards obviously the end, and there's a couple of things obviously I want to touch on. But one, what's come out of doing the podcast and over 80 or nearly 90 episodes now is this definition around success, which is different for everyone, and we've alluded to it throughout the episode, I guess. But in your journey, looking back where you've been, where you are now, and where you're going, how do you define success on your journey so far, and where you're going? What's success to you? How do you define it?
My relationship with Kate. We have there's a saying which I'll mention in a minute. We work together, and we're husband and wife, and we're mother and father. Our bond is so tight that we both can't imagine lives without one another, however hard it is on a day, which it can be, right? But that bond is significant. My kids are the best thing ever. They're very different, but they're the same in every way, as you could well imagine. I'm incredibly proud of them for loads of reasons that I won't gush off on now because it's embarrassing. But they know I'm proud of them, and I love them with unconditional love. My family are incredible, and I spend as much time as I possibly can with them. Not enough, but I do that. I've got a bracelet on, which is probably the most material thing I've got, which is my granddad's wedding ring melted down, my nan's wedding ring melted down. That's the top of his wedding ring. This is some gold that Kate left me, well not left me, it gave me when I was a lot younger, and we melted it all down with the engraving God bless in there, right? That's my little thing. I've got a coin in my back pocket that Charlie gave me, which is my good luck coin. Where is it? Shorts are too tight, mate. There's my lucky coin. So I've got my family, I've got my best mates, strong network, I've got my lucky bracelet and coin. That'll do me, right? So my idea of success is that. I'm proud of that. Anything we achieve thereafter is all good. I'll keep pushing, I'll keep trying my best every day. I want to win, but that's success. I'm happy. They're happy. What else is there? What do I need? Do I need a Rolex? Do I need a Lamborghini? Do I need to give it a large one? No. Success is right there.
One other thing, but what then? Because I completely, and after going on my journey and doing this 90 odd episodes and where I am probably right now, the biggest thing I've learned is exactly that. Well, that's where I am in my head and I'm there. But there is still that thing. What then still drives us, still keeps us going, and still on that treadmill and running around 100 miles an hour and spinning all the plates and doing all the things we do. Why is that still there?
Well, that's who you are, right? Depends what your pursuit is. What? I won't flip it on you. We'll be here all day, won't we? But if you're doing it for a reason of ambition, then why wouldn't you? I'll bring my kids up to try their best every day. Be nice to everyone. There's quicker ways to win a race or be rich. Do it the right way. You don't want to get bored. I think you asked me several months ago, what did you ask me? And I think we were a couple of glasses of gin and tonic or wine in, and I chewed you up for it. You said, are you content? And I got all philosophical about it, didn't I? Yeah. Right now I'm content. I'm happy. It's a new surrounding for me, but this is cool. I'm content when I'm at home and I've put my feet up and I've had a hard day. But in life, if the lights were switched off now, I'm cool with that. That's a bit early. I'm 47. I shouldn't be, but why not? Am I proud of everything that's happened? Would I change it? No. Would I change one thing? No. Nothing. I'll do it all again. It's made me who I am, and it's made that bond with my family, and we're all where we are because of that. But I don't. No, that's it. I'm happy. I'm not. You've got to keep pushing on. Otherwise you die, don't you? So we've got loads of things to achieve. Can't wait. But if we get there, I'll get there, don't I?
Good times. Right. Now we get to the point, and I always ask, what's the future hold? Me and you have obviously spoke about it, and I know obviously we've got Authentic Resilience, the podcast coming, which is very, very exciting, and I think it's going to be awesome. Talk to me a little bit about that, and what's ahead for that, and actually let's start off with what does Authentic Resilience mean to you?
So, if people have stayed awake who have listened to this, they'll work out that, whilst I haven't had a plan and that, there's been authenticity all the way through it, rightly or wrongly. And whilst we didn't go into the depths of some of the dark times, as a business owner, as a person, as a mum, as a dad, or whatever, you're going to go through tough times, right? You're going to need to be resilient, like we touched on. There's too many in my vision. There's too many people that go the wrong way, do the wrong thing to get somewhere. Not a fan of that. There's far too many people that are on the pursuit of a watch or the biggest house, the biggest car, and all that material-led crap. I can't bear it. And they take up too much time on our social media platforms and all the rest of it. But actually, there's far more people out there who are genuine good people. And I want to build a community of those good people, irrespective of wealth, status, or whatever. I want to hear their stories of being authentic, of whether they found it. Maybe they used to be a complete whatever. Maybe they're not now, or whatever. I want to hear their story on authenticity and resilience combined. And I want to share those stories to empower a community where we can make positive change. And and I'm so excited to do it. So it's going to be more than a podcast. It's going to be a community of people, and who knows what we can achieve. Maybe we'll mental business, maybe we'll start up businesses, maybe we'll provide consultancy services doing other stuff. But it'll start with a podcast, talking to some incredible people within my network, where we'll hear their story and go into a bit of detail on what that journey means for them and how they got through the other end, and go on a journey with that. I can't wait. I'm going to learn so much doing it. And I'm buzzing for it. And it just link everything up for me.
Yeah.
What's it all about? So, I've been through everything I've been through. I've won loads of things. I'm so happy. And I've been kicked in the goolies more than enough times. What do I want to do with that? Well, the foundation, there's got some big news coming up in a few months, which I can't really share yet. I've got my first guest on the podcast that I can't share. I'm so excited about that. But wrapping it all up, whether it be Authentic Resilience, ICP Search, Love Local Jobs Foundation, we're there to help people reach their full potential in life. So that's what we're going to carry on doing, and I can't wait.
Love it. I love it, mate. It's been brilliant actually chatting to you about it and with the podcast and getting it up and seeing you actually go, I'm going to do this, and then go, and knowing this coming soon as well.
Well, you've been massive in that, so thank you very much. I wouldn't know what to do. What they call it again? Is that a microphone or something?
Mate, between us, we're not technophobes. I'm like, I press a button, and luckily it works. We had a little bit of a wobble earlier when something weren't working. I've sorted it. We're there. But it's going to be absolutely epic, and I think, certainly I can't wait to listen to that first episode, and it's going to be I'm buzzing for it, mate. So yeah, very excited for you. And listen, thank you for coming on, and finally thank you for coming on and just sharing your incredible story and journey with me and our listeners. And there's so many things that they will take away, as I have, and I guess for me, the other side of it has been fortunate enough to sort of know you for certainly the last 10 years, and that part of that journey, and it's been amazing to see where you are and all what you've come through and how you've come out the other side, and actually where you're going now, which is
thank you for having me. It's my pleasure. Hopefully someone can take something out of it, and
I'm sure
maybe not make the mistakes we've made or whatever, right? But yeah, it's been fun doing it. Thank you for having me.
We're going to finish with our quick fire questions. Love these. Here we go. Who's the person you would most like to say sorry to but haven't?
Sorry to Kate for living in England. But I have said it plenty of times. It's a quite sad one if I've got one, but I'll keep it quick. When my granddad found out he had cancer, I was there when he found out it was the end type thing. I was there in the room, and I didn't hang around because I was scared of not being back for my lunch break with my then employer. And shortly after it, he passed, and that always sat with me as something I can't forgive myself for. He would have been cool with it, but for me, I didn't hang around in that darkest moment of his life, and I won't forgive myself for that. Which is why anyone brings anything up at work to do with family, that's it. They can go do what you like. Bit more serious than you wanted, isn't it? But you asked the question,
mate. Thanks for sharing it, mate. And like you said, things happen in our life for whatever reason, and we take them out, whether we forgive ourselves or not. But actually, look at then as a leader and someone that you are now, and how that's changed the process. How many people you maybe have allowed to have them moments.
Yeah. I was young. I was stupid.
If you had to choose just one, what piece of advice would you like our listeners to take away from the conversation today?
There's loads of little bit of advices in there, isn't there? But I'll go with the saying: the grass is greenest where it's watered the most. So just look after your own garden. Don't go looking at everyone else's all the time. Your life's cool. Your garden's good. Pick your garden. Pick what you want in it. Look after it. It'll be great. Just concentrate on your garden.
I love that. You said that to me a few times, and I love that one. Okay. It's going to be an interesting one because you sort of semi-answered this in different things. But if you could go back to one point in your life and change it, what would it be and what would you change?
Other than the one I've just mentioned, nothing.
Really? Okay.
I've dug deep on that question before. I'd leave it. Even there's things I've done wrong that I'm not proud of, and all the rest of it. There's loads of things I've done right, but I'm not going to go as cheating, mate, and go, I wouldn't be here with you, but I wouldn't have. My family wouldn't be where they are now. My team at work who are incredible wouldn't be who they are and where they are right now, and so on and so forth. So no, you know, that 1 second change changes everything, doesn't it? So no, I'm good.
Love it. Final one. Your one rule for living a fulfilled life.
Find a way to smile every day, enjoy every single moment, and be grateful.
Mate, it has been a true honour to have you on. Thank you so much. It's been a fantastic episode and a brilliant way to finish Series 4. So, mate, thank you very much.
Thank you again.
And that, as they say, is a wrap.
Cool.
This is the County Business Talks podcast, produced by H2 Productions.